Hi guys, welcome to The Weight of Things. My name is Michelle. Thank you for coming and clicking on this video. Before we get started, make sure that if you haven't already, you click the subscribe button and also click the notification bell so that you can get notifications every time that I create a new video. What we are going to be talking about today is something that we have all been hearing about. I mean, like all over the world. Any news station you turn on, any radio you put it on, anytime you go on social media, we are all hearing about this COVID-19. And so what I want to talk about today is fear and anxiety versus just being wise and doing preparations. Also, I want to talk about a movie that I actually watched just yesterday called Contagion. Now, this movie actually was released in 2011. I had never watched it before. This is my first time watching it. It stars such actors and actresses such as Kate Winslett, Matt Damon, Jude Law, Gwyenth Paltrow, just to name a few. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about this movie is because I watched it last night because for some reason why it was trending, and I was like, Contagion, trending, this might be interesting to watch. I thought that maybe a lot of people were probably watching it because it most likely by the name was dealing with some kind of virus, and because we all are dealing with this COVID-19, I thought that maybe a lot of people were just interested to see this movie. When I started watching the movie, however, I really understood why a lot of people were probably interested in watching this movie at this moment in time. Now, I am not the type of person that typically believes in such things as coincidences. I do find that everything kind of happens for a reason, and I can sometimes tend to be a little bit on the conspiracy theorist side, not so much taking it seriously, but I like to kind of look into things and understand things, but I don't think that I go like overboard with it. But this movie really intrigued my interest because of the similarities to what was happening in that movie to what is happening right now. So basically the movie starts with Gwyenth Paltrow. She is in Hong Kong, China, doing business. All of a sudden, she gets really sick. We find out that she had visited somebody in Chicago, and when she gets back home, she meets her son and her husband, and all of a sudden, she gets so sick that she eventually dies. Then we see that her son dies, and all of a sudden, there begins to be this thing where everybody is getting sick. We are seeing that everybody is touching different things on public transit, in stores. People are coughing, and this virus is just getting out of control and spreading. So right then and there, I'm sure that you can see a lot of the similarities. Not to even mention the fact that this all originated in China, just as COVID-19. But the interesting thing that I realized too was that this was in the movie a respiratory illness. And if that isn't interesting enough, the origination of this virus in this movie was from a bat. So as the movie progresses, we start to see that everything has to shut down. Borders shut down, grocery stores are empty, people are just going crazy, people are dying left, right, and center, and this is becoming a worldwide epidemic. What I found kind of interesting and kind of, intrigued my little, conspiracy theorist side of me was that Jude Law's character actually happens to be a rogue blogger. He is a YouTuber most likely and has like a blog page, and he starts to talk and investigate this virus. So he eventually does this blog post where he talks about how he has the virus, and he starts to describe the symptoms that he has, which definitely seems like he has this virus that has been going around. So he talks in this blog post about this bottle that he's been taking, this liquid. I can't remember what the name of it is, but he talks about how if he's alive tomorrow, then we will all know that that is an actual cure for this virus. So the next day we find out that he is alive. Not only is he alive, but he's completely better. So he starts talking about wanting to expose the CDC, because while all of this is going on with this virus, the CDC is under pressure to try and develop a vaccine for this virus. So basically, he meets up with somebody, I believe from the CDC, and starts to threaten them that he's going to tell all his 12 million subscribers to not get the vaccine and that they should start getting this bottle that he took. So we see that the pharmacies start going crazy. Everybody's like fighting each other and breaking into pharmacies to try and steal this product that he said healed him. Now here's where it gets interesting, because then we find out that Homeland Security arrests him, and apparently, quote unquote, they say that they tested him and he never had the virus to begin with. So they start threatening him that they are going to charge him with the fact that he was lying and telling people that this cure was actually something that worked when he in fact didn't have the virus at all. I thought that was interesting because, as we know, with COVID-19, we've been hearing a lot on the news, CNN and other stations, saying things like home remedies don't work, homemade hand sanitizers don't work, essential oils don't work, all of these things that are contrary to vaccines and the big pharmaceutical companies. So I thought that that was very interesting that they put that in the movie, because right there, that would put a doubt on anybody watching that even right now, thinking to themselves, well, you know, yeah, I did see on the video that this could work, and I did see on the video that I should do this or avoid this, but maybe that person is lying. And it's kind of interesting because that kind of is the case. We should be careful about the things that we watch and that we're listening to, and that we're not just going with the wind with what everybody is saying, but we're actually doing research and researching these things for ourselves. But it actually does, as I mentioned, put this doubt in of any other possible solutions for that can help besides what the big pharmaceutical companies would want to give us. The reason I thought that this was interesting and I wanted to talk about this is because, as I mentioned, this movie was created in 2011. Now, in 2011, 2012, 2013, 14, 15, all the way up to probably 2019, if I had watched this movie, I would have never thought to myself, like, this would actually be something that could happen today. In all my years of living, I've never gone into the grocery stores and seen shelves empty. I have never seen so many people walking around with masks. I have never experiencing a sickness that I hear about all the time, that people are literally in fear about. Things are closing. I'm sure where you live, there are things that are closing. Where I live, there's definitely things that are closing. Schools are closing. Churches are closing. Workplaces are telling people to work from home. Most of us in our lifetime have never experienced something like this. So to see a movie that was literally made probably almost 10 years ago have really a lot of similarities to what we're seeing happening today, it kind of does get, as I said, my little conspiracy theorist thing, you know, clock ticking and my wheels turning in my mind as to how much of a coincidence, quote unquote, this could possibly be. Oh, and another thing that I forgot to mention is in that movie, they did have talks about that virus being potentially a weapon against people, possibly for population control. So essentially, if you haven't checked that movie out, I would recommend checking it out. The similarities and comparisons are intriguing, to say the least. Sometimes I wonder, with movies and stuff, you happen to see sometimes certain things that were said in books or movies years ago happening way in the future. Sometimes I wonder how that happened. So with all that being said, I wanted to talk about an even more serious virus that is happening right now. It's highly contagious. It's probably more contagious than COVID-19. And that virus is fear. Fear spreads, and fear can cause us to even act out of logical sense and logical thinking and do things based off of that fear. Right now, we're dealing with a virus that is apparently respiratory, but yet people are going to the stores and buying out toilet paper. And the biggest reason why I think that that is happening is because somebody goes into the store and they're like, oh my goodness, that person's buying a lot of toilet paper. Like, I probably need toilet paper too. Like, what, something must be going on that they know that I don't know. And then that person starts buying toilet paper. And then another person sees them start buying toilet paper. And yeah, I probably need to go grab some toilet paper, because honestly, these people are buying out all the toilet paper. They're buying out all the food. I need to go and stock up myself, because soon everything's going to be gone and there's going to be nothing left for me and my family. So with fear, we're starting to see a lot of other things coming out, like selfishness. We're starting to see a lack of love, people willing to, not care about other people. We're willing to buy out stores, buying things that we probably don't even need without the thought of other people that may need it. But with this fear, there's other symptoms that come along with it. As I said, selfishness, unlovingness, and all these other different things. We need to be very careful that we are having a balance between going into fear and anxiety versus being wise and preparing. There's nothing wrong with wanting to make sure that you do have essentials that you may need in your home just in case. Not just because of the virus, but just in case if you were to get the virus and you need to self-isolate, that you would have the things that you need. But not only that, because of the fact that we do know that with this whole virus, there's a good chance that the market is going to have a downturn, which we already see happening. We know that there's going to be some kind of effect on the economy. And so wanting to make sure that you have things prepared is one thing, but going into fear and anxiety is a total other thing. As I said, fear and anxiety it's actually a virus in itself. It can actually spread to other people and cause them to start panicking and going into fear and anxiety and not really thinking logically. There are other things that do spread as well that are actually very good, like love and kindness. I remember one day going into a coffee shop's drive-through and somebody had paid for somebody's coffee. The person went to the drive-through window and they were told that the person that had just left had paid for their coffee. So because their coffee was paid for, they paid for mine. So when I went up to the window to go and pay, realized that mine was paid, then I paid for the person behind me. And I'm sure that the train probably continued until somebody was like, I really don't care. Like, yo, I got free coffee. I'm on my way. But we can see in that situation how kindness is also something that is contagious and can spread as well. So if we want to be spreading anything, we definitely want to be spreading the right things. We definitely want to be spreading love. We want to remember those that are more vulnerable in these situations, like the elderly, those who have other conditions as well. We want to make sure that we are not frantically buying out the store, especially for things like toilet paper that have nothing to do with the virus that is currently going on right now. We want to make sure that we are loving each other and being there to support each other, pray for each other, and do all of these things that also can spread, but they can spread and have a better and good effect. Fear and anxiety can actually raise your cortisol levels, which actually breaks down your immune system and can have you being more susceptible to catching colds and viruses. So in your fear and anxiety of wanting to prevent this from happening to you, you can actually put your immune system in danger that very same thing you're trying to prevent will actually happen. I am a child of the Lord, and so my trust is in Him. I believe that I have no reason to fear or worry about what may happen because I know whatever happens, it was already in the Father's will. He already knew what was going to happen beforehand. He's not surprised by anything that happens in my life. So we want to make sure that our trust is in the right thing. Our trust is in the right person. As I've always tried to say on this channel, we need to learn to live our lives, because you know what? We can even hear about somebody being sick today, whether it's this virus or something else. And, we can hear that even that person's dying and we could be like, oh my gosh, that person's dying. Like, this is so sad. But in all real reality, we are all dying. We just don't know when. And some people may have been given that prognosis from the doctor, and they may have been given a time period, which is actually under God's control anyways. But the thing is that we can look at that person and feel sympathy because they are dying, when we could ourselves get into an accident or something could happen where they could actually end up outliving us. And so I am definitely a big contender of living each day as if it is our last. A lot of people are going and feeling like, schools are canceled, all these different things, all these different activities are canceled, people have to be staying home from work. We can look at it in that downward view, or we can look at it that now we get to be with our families. Now we get to, I understand that, financially it may be a little bit difficult, but at the end of the day, complaining about it and only looking at the negative side of it is not going to change that fact. But when we look at the positives that could come from this, yes, I get to spend more time with my children. Yes, my spouse gets to stay home from work for, a little bit longer than was anticipated, and we get to do things at home together. We can either look at the negative sides of everything that's going to come with this and ignore the positive, or we can look at the positive and just realize that the negative is something that we just actually cannot change. So again, let us try to live each day as if it's our last. Let us be thankful. Let us spend time with family and friends, loving on them, loving on each other, seeing how we can be the hands and feet of Christ, helping other people that are less fortunate in a more difficult situation that we are in, how we can pray and support one another, and how we can look at the positive side of what is a very unfortunate and possibly scary situation. So again, if you haven't subscribed, please make sure that you do. Click the bell below so you can be notified of every time that I create a new video. Thanks for coming and clicking on the video and for spending this time with me. Have a great day.